Visible? Okay. So my name is Hirva Pandya. Today I am going to deal with the topic violence in wretched of the earth. This is my personal information. Points to ponder about the writer, about the text. What is decolonization? Violence in wretched of the earth. Example of some cases studied by Fanon. Heart of darkness. Violence in Black Lives Matter movement. Violence in recent time. Critics' views on decolonization. Conclusion and work citation. About the writer. uh, French Omar Fanon was one of the most important writers in Black Atlantic theory. Born on the island of Martinique under French colonial rule, in his lifetime he published two key original works, Black Skin, White Mask and Wretched of the Earth. He was died on December 6, 1961. About the wretched of the earth, the text consisting five chapters. The chapter one is on violence. Chapter two is the colonized may form a number political organization. Chapter three is about Fanon discuss how these different groups, the urban allied, the urban workers, and rural fighters get together to form a nation after independence from the colonies. Chapter 4 is about national culture, and chapter 5 there is some cases studied by Fanon and mental health issues. What is decolonization? According to Cambridge Dictionary, the process in which a country that was previously a colony controlled by other country becomes politically independent, the process of getting rid of colonies. According to Tuck and Young, a common move of settler innocence occurs when people rely too heavily on the notion to decolonize your mind, thinking knowledge. This can include efforts read more black, brown, indigenous writer. For example, decolonial curriculum thinking can indeed be a substantial part of the movement. It is a powerful tool for a deconstructing colonial influence on knowledge and education. Here I taken the reference of Mimi. Mimi refers decolonization as a descriptive portraits. Violence in Wretched of the Earth. On violence, Fanon was written as a critical reflection on 1968 student riots in Europe and the US, and it is in this context, the ardent text issue with Fanon, Jean-Paul Sartre, and George Sorel as leading thinkers who ardent suggest defend violence for its own sake. Fanon outlined both potentiality and negative aspect of violence. As Fanon used here example of Algerian, in that he notes that decolonization is the meeting of the two forces opposed to each other by their very nature. Their first encounter was marked by violence and their existence together. In the preface to Wretch of the Earth, Sartre usefully summarized Fanon's analysis. Violence situate in it within medicalized discourse by stating that the native curse himself of colonial neurosis by thrashing out of the settlers through force of arms. To explain this, Fanon draws upon example from psychiatric practice. These observations are done by Josh Pallas, who is the research assistant politics and international studies at the Faculty of Law, Humanities and Arts. He, Josh Pallas has observed that violence is a negative effect. As Fanon views that violence, the currency of colonialism, it becomes omnipresent feature of daily life for the colonial subject. French Fanon provides a useful account of both the positive and negative effects of colonial violence on individual. Case study here we are studying the already studying the cases in chapter 5 though, so I don't repeat it. Violence in Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is written by Joseph Conrad, in which writer mainly focus on idea of colonialism. In Heart of Darkness, African natives are enslaved and abused, crying out voicelessly against the oppression of imperialism. Each instance of interaction with male African natives reflects that deconstruction and violence. The natives are seen chained by iron collars. This is a process of colonization. Next, starved, beaten, subsisting on rotten hippo. This is the main incident in the heart of darkness, beaten subsisting on rotten hippo meat, forced into soul crushing and meaningless, and finally ruthlessly murdered. Violence in recent time, with reference to Heart of Darkness and Wretched of the Earth, and Express. This is a recent incident in an Express Research Group report. India's most densely populated district, with the capital's lowest number of banks, from its small coaching center, its little business, its open drains to its metro line. It is mixed population through the recent polarization what frames the northeast Delhi violence, leaving 42 dead. As homes and shops, you were seeing that they were burnt out, and gunshots rang through crowded lanes. A part of a nation's capital was thrust into the nation conciseness. Northeast Delhi, India's most densely populated district, one of the its poorest, holding the highest Muslim population among Delhi nine census district and the least number of its bank branches. Violence in the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter movement happening in the 2018, in which cricketer Hardik Pandya also taking taking a knee for support this movement. Black Lives Matter is a community based movement that advanced as a consequence of a Facebook post made by an activist from Auckland. Black Lives Matter means numerous things to numerous individuals, yet its voice has been most resoundingly heard. Situation where the revitalizing cry is the subject of utilization of ridiculous, destructive compel against unarmed black individual boycott. Again, it is Black Lives Matter movement is white people are want to colonize the black people, and the UK want to colonize Africa. From the above research, we came to conclusion that not only Black Lives Matter, but the lives of indigenous people also matter, because both are interlinked with each other. Both faced oppression and discrimination from the colonizers. Edwards said the postcolonial theory and the literature of decolonization, as Lufti Hamdi said, observation. This theory is mainly based on what said considered the false image of the Orient fabricated by Western thinkers as the primitive other in contrast with the civilized West. He believes that the consequences of colonialism are still persisting in the form of the chaos, coups, and corruption, civil wars, and bloodshed, which permeates many ex colonies. The powerful colonizer has imposed a language and a culture, whereas those of the Oriental peoples have been ignored. So to sum up, it can be said that decolonization is not only matter of the big colony like America and United Kingdom, but it is also seen in the India as well, as there is also a moment of decolonization. It is therefore noted that decolonization is political procedure that involves violence and conflicts. And it is also seen in the literary text like Blue Sky, that black people versus white people. The Mr. Henry, who was white, and Piccola, Breedlove, who was black. Thank you. These are my work. These are my work citation. Thank you.
So, Hirva, my question is, as you mentioned in your slide, that colonialism in Heart of Darkness. So, can you give any example of colonial violence in Heart of Darkness, like
Yeah.
incident?
Yes, there is colonial violence. The colonizers are beaten by the colonies because there are a black chain incident. They were hang. They were joined with black chain, iron chain, and it is it. The black chain incident is most probably most significant incident in the heart of darkness. uh, and by that incident we can conclude that heart of darkness is uh, dealing with the colonizing process.
My question is which type of negative aspect of violence you find in the wretches of the earth?
which ca- which can